Here's something that will challenge everything you think you know about Hollywood's relationship with political storytelling. Palestinian filmmakers are suddenly experiencing an unprecedented breakthrough moment that seemed impossible just months ago. When no other land claimed the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature this year, it should have been a moment of pure celebration. Instead, it became a stark reminder of how deeply political the film industry can be. Here's what most people don't realize about that victory. While the entire world was applauding, the filmmakers couldn't even find a single U.S. distributor willing to take a chance on their powerful story about Palestinian families being forced from their homes in the West Bank. Think about that for a moment. An Oscar-winning documentary, the highest honor in filmmaking, and American distributors were running scared. The filmmakers had to become their own distributors, essentially going DIY in an industry that thrives on established networks and relationships. But here's where it gets controversial. Even after they took matters into their own hands, local politicians tried to sabotage their efforts. In Miami Beach, the mayor didn't just criticize the film, he actively labeled it as propaganda and attempted to cut funding from any cinema brave enough to screen it. Yet, despite these roadblocks, something remarkable happened. The film found its audience anyway, packing theaters and earning an impressive $2.5 million at the domestic box office. This success story reveals a fascinating disconnect between what industry gatekeepers think audiences want and what people actually hunger to see. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Less than 12 months later, the entire landscape has flipped upside down. The same industry that once treated Palestinian narratives like radioactive material is now actively pursuing them. Festival programmers are competing for these stories. Buyers are aggressively seeking North American distribution rights. And audiences are proving there's genuine commercial demand for authentic Palestinian voices. Consider this dramatic shift through 3 groundbreaking films that are rewriting the rules. Anna-Marie Jassier's period drama, Palestine 36, which happens to be Palestine's official Oscar submission, will make its debut at the prestigious Toronto International Film Festival, with U.S. distribution already locked down by Watermelon Pictures before the first screening. That's virtually unheard of for Palestinian content just a year ago. Watermelon Pictures didn't stop there. They also secured North American rights to Sherian Dabi's All That's Left of You, a multi-generational Palestinian family saga that premiered at Sundance to critical acclaim and now represents Jordan's Oscar hopes. Meanwhile, Kauthar Ben-Hania's emotionally devastating The Voice of Hind Rajab, which tells the true story of a 6-year-old girl killed during Israeli bombardment in Gaza, received thunderous standing ovations at the Venice Film Festival before heading to Toronto, with confirmed sales across multiple European territories. As Hamza Ali, co-founder of Watermelon Pictures, puts it with striking directness, Palestine 36, All That's Left of You, and The Voice of Hind Rajab are probably the 3 biggest films ever to touch on the subject of Palestine, and they're all coming at the same time. This convergence isn't coincidental. It represents a seismic shift in how the industry approaches these narratives. Sales representatives are reporting something they've rarely experienced with Palestinian content: immediate, enthusiastic response from international buyers. Samuel Blank, who heads sales at the Party Film Sales and handles The Voice of Hind Rajab, describes the reaction as really, really strong. But here's what makes this particularly significant. Distributors aren't just seeing commercial potential. They're emotionally invested in amplifying the political message. All the distributors that are attached to the film already think it's important for them to carry this political message as far as possible, Blank explains. For the Ali brothers behind Watermelon Pictures, both of Palestinian heritage, this moment represents more than business opportunity. It's about correcting decades of misrepresentation. Obviously, there's a misrepresentation in film of our community, whether it's Muslims or Arabs, for a long time. Badi Ali acknowledges, the most recent atrocities in Gaza really woke us up. We realized if we weren't going to do this, no one was going to do it. And this is the part most people miss. Social media has fundamentally altered how these stories reach audiences. Traditional gatekeepers no longer control the narrative flow. Some of the images that people have access to, historically they haven't, Batty continues. That has really been the catalyst in shifting the conversation around Palestinian issues. After what we're seeing on social media, I think the next step, and really what we're focusing on, is using cinema as a way to deepen empathy and really bring light to other struggles. But let's be honest about the challenges that persist. The path to American screens remains treacherous for Palestinian stories. There aren't a lot of distributors willing to take risks on these films because they are political, and they do take a stance, Hamza Ali admits. When Watermelon Pictures championed other Palestinian projects, like the short film collection From Ground Zero and The Encampments, a documentary exploring pro-Palestinian student protest movements, they knew they were operating in hostile territory. We were very familiar that no other distributor was going to support them, he states matter-of-factly. The resistance has been real and sometimes frightening. Batty Ali recalls the obstacles they've faced. There have been groups that have threatened theaters if they play our films. Certain advertising outlets wouldn't take ads for certain films, for really bogus reasons. Yet he's cautiously optimistic about the broader transformation. Overall, I feel the industry has shifted as well. This shift extends far beyond American borders. At the Cannes Film Festival, Sapideh Farsi's essay film, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk, which chronicles Gaza photojournalist Fatima Hassouna, who died alongside 9 family members in an Israeli airstrike on April 16, was immediately acquired by prestigious art house distributor Kino Lorber for U.S. release before the festival concluded. However, not every Palestinian project is finding smooth sailing. The market still has specific expectations that can work against filmmakers' creative choices. Arab and Tarzan Nasser's Once Upon a Time in Gaza, a darkly comedic thriller that premiered at Cannes to positive reviews, struggled to attract buyers despite its quality. The reaction from the market was much tougher than we expected, Blank reveals. The film is political because it's by Palestinian filmmakers, but it's a dark comedy, a thriller, a western. It mixes genres. I think what the market was hoping for, from filmmakers from Palestine, was something overtly political. This expectation raises uncomfortable questions about creative freedom and artistic expression. Are Palestinian filmmakers being pigeonholed into creating only overtly political content? Should their artistic choices be limited by market expectations about what Palestinian stories should look like? Meanwhile, Farsi has watched her film achieve distribution success that seemed impossible just months earlier. Since Cannes, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk has sold throughout most of Europe, plus Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. With no other land, they finally distributed it themselves in the States. It was complicated, she observes, highlighting how much easier her path has been compared to the Oscar winner's struggles. Blanc believes political urgency is driving much of this newfound interest. With traditional journalism facing restrictions in reporting from Gaza, cinema is filling a critical information gap. I think one reason there's such interest in these films from buyers and audiences is that people feel that they need to do something, he explains. We all feel powerless and we all want to do something. And I think getting a film out there about it is part of what we can do. This sense of urgency has even penetrated the historically cautious U.S. market, where buyers who previously avoided Palestinian content are now actively pursuing it. In Western Europe, countries like Italy, Spain, they have been sensitive to these subjects from the very beginning, Blank notes. In the U.S., it's opening now. It was really difficult to speak about Israel and Palestine a year ago, and I think people are starting to realize that it's absolutely necessary to do so. For filmmaker Kelvler Ben-Hania, creating The Voice of Hind Rajab, which dramatizes the final hours of a young girl trapped under fire in Gaza, represents a deeply personal act of resistance against helplessness. I don't know how to say this, but I feel like I did something, she reflects. I wasn't complicit, you know? I have no political power. I'm not an activist. I have one tool that I know, that I master a little bit: cinema. And at least in making this movie, I wasn't silenced. But here's the controversial question that needs asking. Is this breakthrough moment genuinely about artistic merit and storytelling excellence? Or is it primarily driven by political timing and social media pressure? Are these films succeeding because they're exceptional cinema? Or because the industry feels compelled to appear supportive of Palestinian voices after months of global criticism? And here's an even more challenging thought. What happens when the current political moment shifts? Will this newfound openness to Palestinian narratives prove sustainable? Or will it disappear as quickly as it emerged when public attention moves elsewhere? What do you think? Is Hollywood's sudden embrace of Palestinian stories a genuine evolution in how the industry approaches political filmmaking? Or is it performative activism that could vanish when the headlines change? Should filmmakers' ethnic or political backgrounds influence how their work is distributed and marketed? Or should artistic merit be the only consideration? Share your perspective. This conversation is far from over. And your voice matters in shaping how these important stories reach audiences worldwide.